Since the beginning of the sport, there has never been an official national championship game for college football. In modern history, the FCS, Division II, and Division III all have NCAA-sanctioned tournaments, but not the FBS. Because of that, the true championship deciders have been the media, mainly the AP poll since 1936 and the coaches poll since 1950. But sometimes the AP voters and coaches poll voters don't agree on the best team because there are two or more teams who look equally the best. To counteract split national championships and the ambiguity of media-selected champions, the Bowl Coalition was formed in 1992. The original Bowl Coalition consisted of 5 conferences, those being the SEC, Big 8, Southwestern Conference, ACC, Big East, and let's not forget Notre Dame. The coalition also consisted of 6 bowl games, those being the Orange Bowl, Sugar Bowl, Cotton Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, Gator Bowl, and Sun Bowl. There was a 7th bowl game that was only part of the coalition in 1992, and that was the Blockbuster Bowl, which is now known as the Pop-Tart Bowl. The Bowl Coalition's goal was to match the first and second ranked teams against each other in a true national championship game, despite conference bowl tie-ins. The rankings they used to select teams were called the Bowl Poll, but it was simply the AP and Coaches Poll combined. Although the Bowl Coalition seemed like a good idea, it was extremely flawed. The main issue is that it completely ignored the Big Ten and Pac-10 champions because they were contractually obligated to play in the Rose Bowl, but the Rose Bowl was not included in the Bowl Coalition. This, along with other issues that included the merger of the Southwestern and Big 8 conferences, and Notre Dame simply being bad, led to a new tweaked version of the Bowl Coalition called the Bowl Alliance. The Bowl Alliance was almost exactly the same as the Bowl Coalition, but with a few differences. Firstly, there was only 3 bowl games in the agreement, those being the Sugar Bowl, Orange Bowl, and Fiesta Bowl. Secondly, there were only 4 conferences involved because the Big 8 and Southwestern combined to form the Big 12 Conference. Because the Bowl Alliance was so similar to the Bowl Coalition, it retained its biggest flaws. Mainly the fact that the Pac-10 and Big Ten champions were still excluded because of their agreement with the Rose Bowl. This was a big issue because if either of the first or second ranked teams were Big Ten or Pac-10 champions, they couldn't play in the national championship. This would create the possibility for another split national championship, and that is exactly what happened in 1997. At the end of the 1997 season, the Bowl Alliance poll looked like this. Number 1, Michigan. Number 2, Nebraska. And number 3, Tennessee. Although Michigan was number 1, they were the Big Ten champions, so they had to play in the Rose Bowl. Because of that, the national championship was between the second and third ranked teams. So for example, if Michigan won the Rose Bowl and Nebraska won the Orange Bowl, who would be the champion? Well, since they both won and Michigan is ranked number 1 already, wouldn't it make sense for them to win the title despite not playing in the national championship? Well, yeah, but there was a problem. The coaches poll had an agreement with the Bowl Alliance that promised to rank the winner of the national champion at number 1 no matter what. That rule did not apply to the AP poll, so they could name whoever they want as the champion, including Michigan. On January 2nd, 1998, Nebraska played against Tennessee in the national championship.
Sports is proud to welcome you inside Pro Player Stadium, just north of downtown Miami, Florida. It's the FedEx Orange Bowl, the first ever meeting in football between the Nebraska Cornhuskers and the Tennessee Volunteers. Final game of this college football season. Final game of the glorious careers of Peyton Manning and Tom Osborne.
After a steady start, the Nebraska Cornhuskers handedly defeated the Volunteers 42-17. That's a pretty good performance from a team that wants to be named the national champion. But there was one problem. Michigan had won the Rose Bowl against Washington State. Because of this, there was most likely going to be a split title, and that is exactly what happened. The AP poll picked Michigan, and the coaches poll picked Nebraska. another split title that the Bowl Alliance was created to avoid. So they reworked it again. In 1998, the Bowl Coalition/Bowl Alliance seemed like it reached its ultimate form, the Bowl Championship Series. The BCS fixed the biggest issue with its predecessors. They reached an agreement with the Rose Bowl to allow teams to play in the national championship if they qualified. No longer did they have to play in the Rose Bowl even if they were one of the two highest ranked teams. They also added the Rose Bowl to the rotation of bowls that would host the national championship. It was also no longer exclusively open to certain conferences. Any team from any conference could play in a BCS bowl game, even the national championship. This seemed like a great solution. While still heavily flawed and criticized for having only two teams competing for a title and the use of computer rankings, it was still much better than what came before. So surely there won't be any more split championships, right? Fast forward to December 6, 2003. It's Championship Saturday in college football, which means it's the last chance for a team to sneak their way into a BCS Bowl or even the national championship. The BCS ranking going to that day looked like this. Oklahoma was number 1, followed by USC, LSU, Michigan, and Ohio State. There was a lot at stake heading into that week, considering the first, second, and third ranked teams were all playing that day. Let's have a look at each game. Firstly, the SEC Championship. Number 3 LSU was going up against number 7 Georgia. LSU easily won that game 34-13. This gave LSU a great argument to be one of the teams in the national championship. Now let's look at USC. USC did not play in the Pac-10 championship because there was no Pac-10 championship, but they did play a game that day. USC's regular season finale coincided with Championship Saturday, so they played a normal game against a pretty average Oregon State team. USC got a big win in that one, 52-28. Last but not least is the Big 12 Championship. This game had the number 1 Oklahoma going up against number 15 Kansas State. Now, Oklahoma was the only undefeated team going into that week. Because of that, Oklahoma was in the best possible position. All they needed to do was win the game, even if it's by 1 point, and they are guaranteed a spot in the national championship. Considering Oklahoma dominated every team they played, most people assumed Oklahoma would win this one.
Marveled at what Bob Stoops has done down at Oklahoma. The great job and the great fans that they have down there. You'll just have to see how everything plays out. Perhaps there were too many stories written about, are they the greatest team of all time? Perhaps everybody should have just taken a deep breath. Bob Stoops tried to tell everybody, I don't want to say we're better than the championship team because we haven't won it yet. We have a chance to be, and clearly they did not answer the bell on this one here tonight. But congratulations go out to Kansas State. The seconds tick away. Bill Snyder has won his first Big 12 championship, and there he is.
Oklahoma came into this game ranked first in points per game at 48.3 and first in points allowed per game at 13.1. This was one of the most dominant teams in college football history. So how did this happen? Well, it was a mixture of a surprisingly dominant Kansas State offense and the fact that Oklahoma could not click on offense. This game was complete and total domination by Kansas State, which is crazy considering some were calling that Oklahoma team the greatest college football team of all time. People woke up the next morning assuming that there was going to be some big moves in the BCS rankings considering Oklahoma just got beat the night before. The AP and coaches poll were revealed in the afternoon and they were exactly as you would expect. In both polls, USC was number 1 coming off a dominant win over Oregon State. LSU was number 2 coming off of a win over Georgia in the SEC Championship. And lastly, Oklahoma at number 3 after their upset loss to Kansas State. Hope seemed lost for Oklahoma on that Sunday afternoon, but there was still the selection show that evening, and maybe, considering how weird the BCS ranking system is, there could be a miracle. But first, how did the BCS rankings work anyways? The BCS ranking system was complicated but easy to figure out. The ranking that you were given was based on a score. The lower your score, the higher your ranking, like golf. The score was calculated using 5 different factors: human polls, computer polls, strength of schedule, losses, and quality wins. So how do we use these factors to determine a score? Well, it's actually pretty simple. First, you take the average of the AP and coaches poll. For example, if a team is ranked 2 in the AP poll but 3 in the coaches poll, their human poll score would be 2.5. The second step is to take the average of 7 different computer polls. The third step is the strength of schedule rank. The SOS rank was based on two factors. 2/3 of your rank was based on opponent's winning percentage, and 1/3 was based on your opponent's winning percentage. That SOS rank was then divided by 25 and added to your BCS score. The fourth step was very simple: losses. You received 1 point for each loss of the season. Those four components were added together to reach a subtotal. But there's one more thing to account for, and that is quality wins. The quality win score was basically a bonus that you got on top of everything else for beating good teams. If you beat a team that was ranked in the top 10 of the BCS ranking subtotal that we just figured up, you received a small point deduction as a reward. It was -1 for beating the number 1 team, and that bonus increased by 0.1 for each ranking after that until you reached number 10. So now that we know how that works, let's see how it played out during the BCS selection show.
These are the men who can answer the eternal question, do you know where you're going to? From the ESPN Zone in Atlanta, we will take you there for 10 exclusive announcements of our bowl matchups as we head toward the college football postseason.
Jackets.
You like those?
Yeah, nice
you should
jacket.
get yourself some of those bright colored jackets.
48 long, please.
There you go. Send them to Trev Alpert. Glad to have you with us in our College Game Day Bowl Selection Special. I'm Reese Davis, along with Trev, who's already spoken, and Mark May, who's here too. You guys know what the BCS stands for?
What?
Big, chaotic
Yes.
situation, especially after the earthquake that we had in college football last night, and tremors still being felt as we awaited the release of the final BCS standings to see who would play in the Nokia Sugar Bowl for the BCS title. Now, the BCS is made up of these factors. It's the strength of schedule, it's your computer ranking, it's your quality win, it's your number of losses, and it's the poll ranking. So it would appear that the human polls released on Sunday would be of paramount importance, the key issue being where would Oklahoma drop. Started with the coaches, USC, after beating Oregon State number 1, SEC champion LSU number 2, the Sooners tumbled from 1 to 3, and the AP mirrored the coaches. So as a result, after we get these polls, what do we have in the BCS standings?
Oh, no.
Inverting.
Whoa.
LSU
Somehow, someway, Oklahoma is still number 1. But how? Well, let's determine their BCS score using the formula we talked about earlier. We'll also determine the BCS score of LSU and USC to figure out how exactly we got here. Let's start with the human polls. We saw that the AP and coaches poll agreed on the top 3, so LSU, USC, and OU are scored based on their ranking. So USC has 1 point, LSU has 2, and Oklahoma has 3. Now, let's add the computer averages. This is where things get a little weird. There are 7 computer polls that the average is determined from, and these polls don't like to agree with each other or the human polls. Let's start with USC. Despite being ranked number 1 in the human polls, only the New York Times computer poll ranked them number 1. 5 of the other polls ranked them 3, and even one of them ranked them 4. This gave USC an oddly high computer average of 2.67. Let's move on to LSU. LSU was ranked number 2 in every computer poll except for one, where they were ranked number 1 for some reason. This gave them a computer average of 1.83. Lastly, let's look at Oklahoma. This is where things get kind of crazy. Oklahoma was ranked number 1 in 5 different computer polls despite getting beat badly the night before. 2 polls did not rank them number 1, those being the Massey and New York Times polls. Massey gave them a 2, while the New York Times actually ranked them 5. This gave Oklahoma a computer average of 1.17, lowest of the 3. So far, we are sitting at number 1 USC with 3.67, number 2 LSU with 3.83, and number 3 Oklahoma with 4.17. Now we have to look at strength of schedule. USC finished with an SOS rank of 37, LSU with a rank of 29, and Oklahoma with a rank of 11. Now we take those numbers and divide them by 25, and then add them to the BCS score total. After we divide those by 25, we have USC at 1.48, LSU at 1.16, and Oklahoma at 0.44. Once we add them to the BCS score, we come up with this top 3. Number 1 Oklahoma with 4.61, number 2 LSU with 4.99, and number 3 USC with 5.15. See how quickly the rankings change with just the strength of schedule factor? We're not done yet, so let's move on to losses. Each team has 1 loss, so each team simply gains 1 point. Now we have reached the point subtotal. At this point, we have to add the quality win bonus. Oklahoma is the only team to beat a team in the top 10 of the BCS subtotal, that being Texas at number 6. Because of that, we give Oklahoma a negative 0.5 bonus. And there we have it, the final BCS rankings. Now you know exactly how Oklahoma retained their number 1 ranking despite losing to Kansas State in the Big 12 championship. As the news spread across the college football world, people quickly and rightfully became angry. In fact, the hosts of the BCS selection show could not believe it either.
Times in less than 11 months that Florida State and Miami get together. Obviously, that is a back burner issue. The front burner issue is that the number 1 team in the land in both polls, USC, not in the BCS title game.
You know, guys, I think we have to look at the big picture. We have to look at why the BCS was formulated in the first place. You have to understand, remember, people didn't like the fact that we were having split national championships when the AP and the Riders poll. I think when you take a step back now and look at the BCS, 3 of the 6 years, the thing, frankly, has not worked. The bottom line is the consensus number 1 ranked team in both polls is not playing in the BCS title game. My opinion, guys, strictly my opinion, I believe that the BCS is now irrelevant, completely irrelevant. The AP in that game in the Rose Bowl is for the true championship, in my opinion.
Well, I don't know about that, but when you have 3 teams in the top 5 with 1 loss, and you're talking about 3 teams right now in LSU, Oklahoma, and USC, someone's going to get left on the outside looking in. Unfortunately, at this point, it looks like it is USC. But what I have a problem is, you have a team that's number 1 in the coaches poll, number 1 in the AP poll, and they're not playing in the Nokia Sugar Bowl. That's what's wrong with the system. There is no way you can say USC should not be playing in the Sugar Bowl.
And Reese, you know what? There's no contingency plan. Why isn't there a contingency plan that says, look, if you're the number 1 ranked team in both polls, forget about it. We've got to, it's always it's never proactive. It's always reactive. Well, we got a problem. We'll fix it the next year. That's the problem. Disconnect with the fans.
Well, the question that I have with Oklahoma, and you've heard me say this, that let me see. USC, the winners of the Pac-10, they're Pac-10 champions. LSU, winners of the SEC champions. Oklahoma did not win their conference championship game. Why are they playing for the national championship? Forget these computers. I disagree.
All right.
January 1st came around and USC played against Michigan and USC won. It was then people realized that there was going to be another split national championship, the very thing the BCS was created to destroy. USC was not going to be moved from number 1 in the AP poll, and the coaches poll had to rank the winner of the Sugar Bowl as number 1, so the Sugar Bowl came and went, and LSU won. So, where do you go from here? Well, after the 2003 season, the BCS overhauled the ranking formula. The new ranking system was much more simple and it put much more weight in human polls rather than computer rankings. The new formula only used 3 components: the AP poll, which was replaced by the Harris Interactive poll in 2005, the coaches poll, and the dreaded computer polls, but with a handicap. And that, for the most part, worked until the BCS was ended in 2013. Of course, people continue to criticize the BCS for its flaws, and rightfully so. It was not perfect and left out a lot of good teams. Thankfully, in 2013, the BCS Presidential Oversight Committee announced the College Football Playoff, and the rest is history.